There's a difference between liking a house and actually getting it. Redfin is built to make up that difference and close the gap between finding and owning the home for you. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. So when you find a home you love, you're not a step behind when it comes to making an offer. That means less watching great homes disappear and more focus on the one you'll call home. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Hey now. Oh yeah, look at my life. Hey now, yeah. Oh yeah, look at my life out here on the road.
Hi everybody, welcome to Scott Fox After 9. Today is your Friday Listener DM special, and to do this, I'm going to bring in the great Anna Almeida. How you doing, Anna?
Good. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you. You haven't been here in a little while, so let's get caught up. How was your week?
It was good. I felt sick. I think there's something going around right now, and I caught a little bug, but I'm feeling much better. So, yeah, I took Wednesday off, but I'm here now.
Can I tell you what I heard?
What?
A listener reached out to me the other day, and he said, I was so excited, and I didn't want to approach her, but I ran into Anna at Popeyes in Cambridge.
Oh, my gosh.
So you met a listener.
That's so funny.
And then you were off the next day. Did the Popeyes not agree with you?
Listen, I don't want to start rumors, but I can tell you that it did not land well.
Okay, all right.
It did not land well.
I'm glad you're here.
Oh, that's so nice of somebody to say.
There's a couple things I want to do just before we get into the pod. Number one, I want to congratulate, and I know there's a lot of people who don't like doing this because he's American, but I'm going to give credit where credit is due. UFC President Dana White has stepped up for Maya Gabala. She is one of the girls who was shot in the Tumbler Ridge school shooting, and she lived, but she is going through an insane course of treatments right now in British Columbia. Dana White has stepped up and offered to pay her medical bills and for the transport to get her down to Los Angeles at the Los Angeles Children's Hospital, and she is going to get world-class care, all paid for by the president of the UFC.
I like Dana. He gets a bad rep, but I think he's doing great things. I don't know what it was about this particular story, but he's a dad himself, and this little girl's going to get the best care, and she deserves it. She's been through so much.
Oh, it's incredible what these kids went through.
Oh my gosh, I can't even.
It's amazing how quickly we forget, though. How many people, when I said that, had to stop and think, Tumbler Ridge. Which shooting was that?
It's sad.
And how sad is it that we have to do that? There's something that was so traumatic just a few weeks ago, and it's not top of mind anymore.
I know. It's just the world events just keep on coming. But that one we shouldn't forget, so we don't want things like that to happen again.
Yesterday in Ottawa, something interesting happened. Before we get to the listener DMs.
Yeah.
Michael Ma, do you remember him? He was the Conservative member of Parliament who crossed the floor to the Liberals. And then as soon as he crossed, Mark Carney announced, well, he's going to be coming on my trip to China. You remember that?
I do.
Yesterday, he was asking some questions in a parliamentary committee meeting. I want to play just a little bit of this for you because if you listen carefully, it sounds like Mr. Ma here is trying to suggest to a very senior civil servant that there is no forced labor in China. Listen to this.
Question then is, you claim about forced labor in Shenzhen. Have you witnessed this yourself? Have you been there ever?
I've been to China many times.
Have you witnessed
since
forced labor in
1979?
Shenzhen? Have you witnessed forced... Just a short answer. Have you witnessed forced labor in Shenzhen? Yes or no? So did you get that
I
from
work closely
hearsay?
with Human Rights Watch, where researchers did witness it.
So thank you.
Okay. So, I mean, that's disqualifying.
Yeah.
It is Canadian policy that we all know, recognize, and understand there is forced labor happening in China.
Yeah.
For him to suggest otherwise or to try and cast any doubt on that is actually crazy. So a reporter picked up on that and followed him through the parking lot at the House of Commons yesterday.
Love this.
Let me play a little bit of this for you.
To challenge a witness on forced labor in China. Do you believe there's forced labor in China? You do? Is that a yes, Mr. Ma?
Sorry, I'm late for a meeting.
Yes, but can you please explain your comments at the Industry Committee?
I have no comment at this time.
The Conservatives are making it seem like you don't care about forced labor in China or you don't believe in it. What do you think of that?
Well, they like to exaggerate always.
Oh.
Was it really an exaggeration? Do you believe there is forced labor in China?
I believe there are forced laborers all over the world.
What about China specifically?
Well, all over the world.
But China specifically?
Sorry, I need to run.
I love that she was on him.
Wow, right?
Good for her.
I don't know how Mark Carney hasn't fired him already, because that's a disqualifying statement. For him to even suggest otherwise is preposterous. And Mark Carney hasn't kicked him out of cabinet yet, out of his caucus yet. But here's the thing. Think about the irony of that. This is a guy who left his seat as a conservative to go and become a liberal. Then he says something really stupid. He could get kicked out of the Liberals and have to sit as an independent. And if he does have to sit as an independent, isn't that incredible that with Parliament split then 50-50, this idiot could have the balance of power himself? If that doesn't strongly suggest to everybody that we need some reform in our politics, I don't know what does, but that's bananas, Anna.
It is all around bananas. It's like watching zoo animals, honestly, trying to keep up with each other. I don't get it.
Did you follow at all yesterday, the Ontario provincial budget when it came out?
No, not closely, but I did hear some things. I know that it's not good. So
I don't know. I think it depends who you ask.
Really?
I think that there's probably parts of that budget that are good and some that are bad. One of the things that I'm very fixated on is the dollars and cents. See, I'm one of those people who thinks that government should have to live within its means and it shouldn't spend more than it brings in revenue, because I think the worst thing we could be doing is borrowing and printing more money.
That's common sense.
I think it is common sense. So I've got a couple numbers for everybody. If you didn't see the budget, let me just run these down.
Okay.
The debt, just for Ontario's debt, $427 billion now.
Just for our province.
Just for the province, $427 billion. The deficit, that's how much more we're spending than we bring in. $13.4 billion. So as that continues to go up, so does the debt. $13.4 billion deficit, $427 billion in debt. The interest payments. How much are we paying in interest? Isn't that a good question?
Yes.
This year, $16.2 billion in interest payments.
It just makes my blood boil.
You know what that breaks down to? $44 million a day.
Oh
that
my
we're
gosh.
spending on interest on Ontario's debt. And forget the federal debt. That's just Doug Ford's Ontario debt. $44 million a day in interest. Think of how much healthcare we could provide. Think of all the different services we could give people. Think of how much we could cut taxes if we didn't have to spend $44 million a day. But that's where we're at after this budget.
It just makes me sick. It makes me feel ill, honestly. I
Isn't that
don't
crazy?
understand. And I don't know how people don't think we're not in a recession. How did we get here? Well, we know.
It's overspending. We have reckless people that are making terrible decisions financially. And I get it. You've got all these things you want to do. You want to build tunnels and convention centers, and you want to fill in Lake Ontario. And I get it. You've got lofty goals and ambitions. And right now the premier is trying to create a legacy. What the rest of us are saying is stop borrowing money, because $44 million a day in interest payments. Think of what we could have for an extra $44 million a day. Think of how much more school funding we could have. We could more than adequately, properly fund autism supports in this province. We could make sure that this OSAP cut is not a thing and that everybody gets a great education and they graduate with low debt. There's so much we could do, but they're borrowing so much money that we are spending $44 million a day in interest payments under this new budget.
The legacy that he's leaving behind is ridiculous. It's sad. Any of the good things he could have done, I don't even know, because I'm just fixated on all the things that he wants to get done. And we shouldn't be spending money on a tunnel, in my personal opinion. There's lots of things I want in life, and I reevaluate where I'm at, and then I make decisions based on that. This guy is just going out there and blowing money that we don't have to make a legacy that we don't care about.
Anna, the provincial government has announced they're going to take the HST off of new home purchases. Did you hear about this?
I did. It's
for 1 year only, and it works like a rebate. After you buy your home, you get a check, I guess, for the 13%. Can I tell you, I know that there's some people online who are skeptical. A lot of people feel that this is just a bailout for builders. And it's kind of hard to see how it's not a bailout for builders, because many of them have these unsold condo units that they want to unload. Now, they could just lower the price, but they'd really rather not do that, especially if the government is standing there with a fistful of money saying, no, take this. I've got a slightly different proposal for how we could do it.
Okay.
Think about this. Right now, they're giving people back the HST as a rebate.
I like money.
People like money.
I like money.
And I mean, I assume that most people will take that rebate and drop it right on the mortgage and bring down the amount that they owe.
Which is great.
It is good. But that's at the back end, because after the deal closes, then you get your rebate. Why wouldn't they rejig this system just a little bit so that you could get that on the front? You know, it occurs to me there's no shortage of people out there who would love to be in the home market. They would love to buy a house. And that's great. The problem is you've got to put 20% down on a house. And in this economy, it's really difficult for people to try and save 20%.
Absolutely. $1 million
home, you're going to get $130,000 back, but you got to put down $200,000 to buy it. So what if they did this? Rather than after you complete the sale, they give you a rebate. Why wouldn't they just create like a little 24-hour escrow period? And when the deal closes, 24 hours before the home actually changes title, and then you could take that rebate and apply it to the down payment. Then you don't have to save $200,000. You need to save $70,000. You only need to save 7% as opposed to saving 20% if the 13% from the taxes could be applied to the down payment. Wouldn't that make sense and help people who are not able to save 20% in this economy? Wouldn't that help more people get into the housing market?
It would be such a relief. It would be so helpful. It would be an opportunity. I just don't understand why somebody hasn't come up with that idea. I think that's so logical, and what a great way to get people into homes.
I think so, but I'm also wondering, is this for regular people that are trying to get into the housing market, or is this really just a gift to the builders? And there's a lot of people who believe that this is just a handout or a bailout for the builders, and maybe it is. I mean, I wasn't there in the cabinet meetings, and well, obviously we can't read cabinet documents anymore because of that Freedom of Information law change. But nonetheless, I think that would actually help people if we sort of minimize the amount they have to put down. They still have to put down tangible money, but not 20%, because the rebate doesn't have to come off the end of the mortgage. It could just go on to the beginning and be part of your down payment. I think that would help a lot of, in particular, young people and small families get their foot into the real estate market.
I think it would just be absolutely incredible to be able to save $200,000. Just does not seem feasible, but to have an opportunity to have help like this, what a game changer.
I think it would be.
It is.
Hey, I don't know if anybody at Queen's Park is listening. This is something that would help out a lot of people get into the home market. So consider that. Don't make it at the end, a rebate after the deal closes. Make it part of the deal and allow people to use it towards their down payment. That, I think, would be one of the most helpful things they could do for somebody who wants to buy a home.
I honestly think it would be such a game-changing opportunity for people to have that help, honestly. And I'd have more faith in the government.
That's going to be a taller task. But anyway. All right.
I get you.
Let's get into some listener DMs.
All right. So we're going to start off. It's a little heavier of a note, all right? But it's from Kayla, and she writes, the Air Canada crash, such a tragedy. As a wife of an Air Canada pilot and a mom of a son studying aviation, this hit very close to home. I gave my husband an extra hug and kiss before his flight this morning. I also feel for the air traffic controller. A catastrophic human error he will carry forever. And from what I understand, he kept working after the incident, rerouting and canceling flights. He should have been pulled off immediately, but I imagine staffing shortages meant he had to stay until relief arrived.
Are you serious? They kept the guy working after that?
Oh my gosh. I didn't realize that, but that makes sense if they are short.
Listen, the U.S. needs to figure out their airports. They've got to get the government completely reopen again, and they've got to make sure that their airports are well staffed. But I'm not suggesting that was part of the crash. I mean, it does seem like this was a simple mistake, and that's the hard part. I'm glad that she also recognized what the air traffic controller is going through, because how do you live with yourself? You've got 2 dead pilots, 44 people injured, and, what a colossal tragedy. I think this was 1 in a million. Like I said this on the pod the other day, 3 seconds on either side, and this doesn't happen. If the plane had been a few feet higher, this doesn't happen. But it did, and he's got to live with it, and obviously the families have got to live with it. I also think, though, that the pilots' families, no doubt they are devastated. They must also always have that feeling, right? Like when you go off to work, you do a dangerous job. Not dangerous, but it feels dangerous.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you never know when you've seen him for the last time. This is a worst dream come true that they're gone now. But where they can take a little bit of comfort is those pilots, I believe this, they saved lives. The fact that as they were coming in, they saw what was going on the runway. They saw that fire truck was not stopping, and they only had between 4 and 6 seconds before impact from the time the wheels hit the ground. They jammed on the brakes as hard as they possibly could. They did everything they could to not only slow that plane down, but to keep it going straight.
Yeah.
Because if it had diverged even a little bit, it could have been catastrophic and everybody could have been killed.
Yeah.
So as sad as it is, all around, I think those pilots should be remembered as heroes.
I agree.
Because they saved lives, Anna, and what an incredible gesture in your final seconds.
I know. They took the impact so others wouldn't have to feel it.
Basically they did.
They did.
And, I know there's people who got hurt, and I feel bad for them
Yes,
too, but they're lucky to be alive, and I think they owe their lives to those pilots.
I agree with you. Oh my gosh. Well said. Terry writes, Scott, you're absolutely right. The odds of this happening are 1 in a million. With the limited information we have, it seems like a judgment call by an air traffic controller who was just doing double duty. He cleared the plane to land and assumed there was enough time for the fire truck to pass. 3 seconds either way, this likely doesn't happen, but it did. The question now is, how do we prevent it from happening again?
That's a great question. I think that there really does need to be...
Yeah.
You know what, though? Because it was 1 in a million, I really don't know that we have to start jumping through hoops to try and make change. I don't think we need to make change just for the sake of making change, because in all the years that we've been flying, this has never happened. The odds of it happening again are, 1 in a billion. 3 seconds either way, and this is not a thing. A few more feet, and this is not a thing. I don't know that we need to make changes, but I do think that we need to make sure that we have our best and brightest in air traffic control, that they are completely free of distraction, and that they're not overworked. And you know what? There should be a no questions asked policy. If I'm an air traffic controller, and I can look in the mirror and say, I'm not at my best right now. I am groggy, or I'm not feeling well. Something's coming on. I don't know. Maybe something at home is bothering me. There should be relief right then and there, so I can just take some time. And you know what? In my job, I can just put the auto switch on, and the songs will keep playing. Whether I talk in between them or not, doesn't matter. At least there'll be someone there or something there. These air traffic controllers, they don't get a break. Like they can't just say, I'm going to go for a smoke and think about it. They need relief, like in the tower, so that if they're feeling even a little bit off, they can say, you know what, I need a few minutes, and somebody else will jump in and cover seamlessly. If we could get to that point, I think that would be great. Other changes that need to be made, I don't know. I mean, I'll defer to the people who are experts in this field, but that seems like an easy one. But it also seems like a human one. This is a very demanding job, and to be on all the time, and you cannot slip up for even a second, or you see what happens.
I know.
So they need to have that relief there, and know that if they need to take a minute, that is totally okay, and encouraged that they take a break, clear their head, and come back to work focused and ready to go.
Oh, my heart for everybody affected. It's just such a sad story. All right, we're going to move on now to Grant. After today's pod and watching the Pearl View, I have a few suggestions. If someone wastes committee time or avoids answering questions, they should face penalties, like up to 3 months in jail and a $50,000 fine, since they have parliamentary privilege. Cabinet members who do this should lose their position and be barred from holding one for the rest of the term. Ethics violations should carry stricter penalties, 6 months in jail and $150,000 fine. A second violation should mean removal from government and a lifetime ban. It's frustrating. My kids can't get jobs in places they apply seem to be filled with TFWs instead. It's just insane.
Okay, I mean, that's covering a lot of different things. He's talking about Pearl View. If you Google Pearl View, that's how you can watch parliamentary procedures. They stream them on that website. What he's suggesting is people who go to these committee meetings and don't answer questions, or they obstruct the proceedings, there should be a consequence for that. And I don't even necessarily disagree. The problem is the people who are usually obstructing are the people who are in charge. And the people who chair the committee are the people in government. Let me give you a great example, because they abuse that. Just yesterday, this was in Parliament, there was a proposal from the Conservatives. Sandra Cobaina, she is the member of Parliament for Newmarket, I believe. She said, let's put forward a motion to stop the alcohol tax increase that's coming on April 1st. And that's something that Justin Trudeau did to Canadians. Rather than have to face the public every April and raise taxes on alcohol, because they always raise the sin taxes, right? When they need money, they go after cigarettes, they go after cannabis, they go after alcohol, the sin taxes. And Trudeau got tired of getting yelled at for raising taxes every year on alcohol. So he put them on what's called an escalator tax. That means that as the rate of inflation goes up, the taxes go up. And once again, this Wednesday, April the 1st, alcohol taxes are going up again. Well, the Conservatives tried to put in a motion to stop that tax hike from happening. This is a little bit hard to hear. You're going to hear the chair, Liberal Karina Gould. She is the member of Parliament for Burlington. And you're going to hear a couple others openly talking about how they'll filibuster it and then they adjourn the meeting rather than actually vote on a bona fide motion from the Conservative member. Listen to this.
We're voting to adjourn. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Motion, you have time for more questions.
No, I'll filibuster for the entire day, guys. There's no way we're voting on this. I'm sorry.
To adjourn the meeting, Mr. Turnbull?
I vote yes to adjourn the meeting.
They adjourned it without even considering it. A bona fide proposal that would help people. Things that Canadians want. They're sick and tired of having their taxes raised constantly. And as long as they don't raise income taxes, the vast majority of people are going to be quiet about it. Well, I'm not going to be quiet about it. And neither is Sandra Cobain here. This is ridiculous that every year they keep raising our alcohol taxes. Well, when she put forward a motion, you heard the Liberals say, we can filibuster all day. We are not voting on that. Why? Yeah. Why can't we vote on it? Part of the committee process, we're supposed to be able to have an adult conversation. And as soon as the cameras are on, these people turn into theatrical performers. And they're all just covering their butt, trying to make sure they don't get in trouble with the boss. And it's ridiculous. I mean, they should be able, as adults, to sit and say, yeah, this is ridiculous. Or say, yeah, I know people don't like taxes, but we're broke as a country and we have to do anything we can to raise money for the government. Like, have a principled position on that. Mm-hmm. People who obstruct, yes, there should be a consequence for that. Grant also suggested there should be a consequence for people who have ethics violations.
Yes.
Right now, you can violate the ethics rules all you want. There's really no punishment for it. And there's been no shortage of Liberal members of Parliament that have been found to have violated the ethics code, not the least of which is Trudeau himself, multiple times. But also there's cabinet ministers that have got ethics violations against them, and there's really no incentive to not violate the ethics rules when there's no punishment if you do. There absolutely should be something, but don't expect it under this government because they're serial breakers of the rules. They're not going to change that.
Oh, if it's been working for them, they're not going to change it.
No.
And it's just funny on April Fools, right? It's going to go up again.
Every year?
Every year. All right. Well, we got one from Sarah. She writes, Scott, listening to your Thursday podcast it's more of a rant than a question, but it honestly makes my blood boil hearing how much money the government is spending with little to no results for Canadians. Every day, middle-class families are watching their hard-earned money go to waste. There's so much I could do with those extra dollars for my family, yet we hear about $250 million spent on nothing to show again. Where is this accountability? Does no one feel any guilt for this level of negligence? I can't even say that word, but it's very frustrating and it gives me a headache. I understand, Sarah.
I don't think they do feel guilty about it. I don't think they have any shame. You probably didn't hear it, but in yesterday's pod, I was talking about a program called Prescribe IT, and it was Dr. Matt Strauss. He is the member of Parliament for Kitchener South Hespeler. And he wanted some questions answered on this Prescribe IT program because they spent $250 million on this, $250 million on this program. And nearest Matt can tell is we already had a program that worked like that, and we can't seem to figure out where this $250 million went. But they've now scrapped the program. We have literally nothing to show for $250 million. So somebody got rich. Somebody got rich. $250 million. And Matt wants to see the documents.
It's fair. I want to see them.
The Liberals are obstructing so that they don't have to produce the document. That's not right. Like, Canadians have a right to know how their money is being spent. I don't understand what they don't understand. And it's possible they understand perfectly that we want to see it, but they just don't care. They're going to do whatever they want because there's this new thing in politics, and it's only been in place for like the last 10 years. It used to be about putting out the best platform. Canadians will select the best party to lead the country, and then we go with that agenda. Now, there had to be some checks and balances. There was transparency that was required. We have an auditor general and things like that for a reason, to make sure that money is spent responsibly. But we picked a plan and went with it. Now, it's all about power. And there's an assumption here that you're not really working for the people. You've been handed power for up to 4 years, and you're going to do whatever the hell you want in those 4 years. I think if you didn't promise it during the campaign, you can't do it during the term.
I like that idea.
We have elections for a reason. Mm-hmm. You can't get into power on a promise of running a balanced budget and then all of a sudden introduce some massive new spending plan that's going to put us in generational debt. That's not how this is supposed to work. Canadians didn't vote on that. And unfortunately, it's an interpretation thing, but the Liberals seem to think that we have made them the kings for 4 years and they're governing like kings. They are not in favor of democracy. They think democracy got done on election day, and the next time there needs to be democracy is on the next election day. But in between, they can do whatever they want. And frankly, it shouldn't work like that, Anna. And it's not working for Canadians. When you look at how many people are struggling, how many people are going to food banks, how many people are losing their jobs, what's happening now is completely wrong. And the people that could do something about it don't care. Not only do they not care, they're making it worse by continuing to print money and rack up the debt and spending money on stupid stuff that by and large Canadians do not support their money being spent on. It's very, very frustrating.
Well, especially $250 million gone like that. Oh my gosh.
It's $250 million.
Like,
and
disgusting.
You know, there was a time not that long ago when we didn't talk in billions. Government spending was in millions. And if something was going to cost over $1 billion, that was a big, massive thing. Well, now everything is in billions and Canadians are desensitized to it.
It's true, actually.
You know, you hear the government wasted hundreds of millions of dollars and you don't even bat an eye. It's almost like you expect it from them now.
It's sad. It's so true when you say it like that.
Every dollar in a household matters. Every dollar goes toward food or bills or shelter or car payments, insurance, cell phones, whatever it is. The bills of the house, every dollar matters. In Ottawa, they don't care if they lose $250 million because they can just print another $250 million. Or that $250 million went to somebody who's loyal to the party, who paid them off, who's got a good lobbyist, you name it. There's all kinds of reasons, but they don't care. And it is so damn frustrating.
It's so sleazy. Just awful. All right. Well, thank you, Sarah, for that one. And then Annie writes, do you know how hard it is to plan a municipal election without the information? I work in municipal government and we've already secured our voting method and vendor. But now we need to prepare for the nomination period starting in May. I don't understand how the province expects municipalities to get ready without clear direction. I live in Tay Township and work for another municipality, and our last election was mostly acclaimed except for one trustee seat. It's ridiculous. They've had so much time and still haven't made a decision. We can speculate, but this situation just isn't right. That's Annie.
Okay, and she is talking about, I assume, the school board trustees?
Perhaps. She didn't say particularly, but yeah.
Okay, so the school board trustees is one where I think there's a lot of municipalities waiting to find out how their election is going to work in the fall when we have municipal elections, because the government, while they've given indications that they might change around the school board trustee program, they haven't actually canceled it. So right now, municipalities are going on the assumption that the election in October is going to include school board trustees. But it's entirely possible Doug Ford is going to scrap school board trustees or amalgamate various boards. And what Annie here and many others are looking for is a little bit of a heads up. Like, don't just spring it on us after the nominations open that, yeah, you're not voting on that anyway. There's things that need to be done for an election. They need a little bit of information. So whatever the government's doing, and frankly, I don't care either way. I've got enough issues with the provincial government and how they're running things. I really don't care what they do with the school board trustees because I actually kind of see their point. Some of them have run roughshod. But still, people need to know what is the plan. You can't leave it until, July, August? How late are you guys going to leave it to make that decision? If you're going to ask the trustees, do it now and give people time to prepare.
And that's the best way to do it.
Or if we're going to continue on with trustees, make it known so that people who may be interested in stepping up and replacing this current crop of, you can insert your own adjective there. People who want to step up and replace them, they need to know so they can prepare a campaign. So the Queen's Park folks, you guys got to get on that. Make a decision one way or the other, and let's go.
We know you listen.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
So Amanda writes, hey, Scott, I was listening to last week's Listener DMs episode and wanted to answer your question about doctors derostering patients from using walk-ins.
Okay, before you do, I got so many messages on that this week. Last week, it came up that somebody went to a walk-in clinic. And after they went to the walk-in clinic, they got a letter from their doctor threatening that if they do it again, they may lose their family doctor. It's actually insane, Anna. That is so counterintuitive when we've got people who can't get a family doctor that want health care. And if they don't get health care and don't get a family doctor, they're going to go and clog up the emergency room. It's crazy. What did this person say?
Well, Amanda writes, hey, there are two types of practices, FHGs and FHOs. So FHGs are fee for service, so they bill per visit. FHOs are paid based on roster size, and they get penalized if patients go elsewhere. That said, FHOs are required to offer walk-ins for their own patients. If they don't and a patient can't get an appointment, it's hard to fault them for going elsewhere. In that case, I think a patient could file a complaint with the CPSO, but realistically, who wants to force a doctor to keep them? It's a tough culture right now, and it likely won't change until government sets a clearer standard.
I think we need to put the entire healthcare system on the hoist for what we're paying, and we're spending more than we ever have. We're not getting good results. People are waiting 12 hours in an emergency room. People are waiting months to get simple diagnostic imaging like MRIs. Let's get going here. And I know this isn't popular. There's some people, older folks, if I'm being honest, who are so scared of any change in our healthcare system. They're so afraid that we're going to end up with some American system where you've got to pay, and if you can't pay, then you're going to lose your house and stuff like that. They've heard all the horror stories, and they don't want that to happen in Canada. It doesn't need to be that way, but it can't stay the way it is. There's a compromise here. You let the private sector run healthcare, and the government writes one check a year. Here's the check. Here's how much we owe you. And over the course of a year, those private healthcare companies are going to run hospitals and walk-in clinics like a business. And you know what the best thing about business is? They love customers. When you go into the hospital, they want to get you in, treated, and on your way as quickly as possible so that they can get the next patient in. And that doesn't mean they're going to cut corners on care. It just means because they get paid for everything they do, but they want more customers through the door. They're incentivized to try and make this a good system for all of us. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as the government still pays the bill, let the private sector run it. They've proven time and time again they know how to run a healthcare system. The government has proven time and time again they don't know how to run a healthcare system. So let's fix that. All the government has to do is stroke a check. You just make sure the bill gets paid and everybody's going to continue to get great healthcare. But The government can't run it because the government's not good at running anything. They're good at governing-ish, but they're not good at running any businesses or services. So get them out of there. Let private companies run these hospitals and walk-ins, and maybe even, well, the family doctors are already a private business. Let's get going on this. We need to do it because we need better results. And for the amount of money we're spending, we should have great results. It's not good right now. Like, people are suffering. Waiting. They're dying, waiting for treatment.
Honestly.
And it shouldn't be like that. And we can't keep allowing this to happen. So we've got to semi-privatize our system. The public should never have to pay out of pocket. Doug Ford said it best. You will always pay with your OHIP card, not with your credit card. And as long as that remains true, get government out of it. They're not good at this. They can't run anything. Is there any single government service that you can point to that you think runs at peak efficiency, that is a well-oiled machine?
I can't.
Not one.
It's sad I can't. I really thought of it, too.
What are you throwing out? What, Service Ontario? They privatized that because they were so bad at doing it. The LCBO is losing money every year. It's crazy. They're not good at this. So let them come up with the rules. Let somebody else administer them and run the system. It's the only way.
It just seems so logical. And I feel for those who can't get access to care like they deserve. It's ridiculous.
The problem is if the province says we're going to go to a semi-private system and we're going to let private corporations run hospitals, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to freak out. Oh my God, this is the end of our universal health care. It's not the end of universal health care. All universal health care means is the public doesn't pay. You pay your taxes, so you're entitled to free health care. Great. Let the government continue to pay for health care. We're paying enough in taxes for it. I'm just talking about the operation of the hospital. Government wastes money. They're not good at this stuff. So let somebody who is good at it run the system. And as long as they stick to the rules that are set out by the Ministry of Health, everything is going to be fine. But people are so scared of change. It drives me crazy.
But also what a relief it would be for our healthcare. Our doctors, our nurses.
Hey, my parents are getting up there. Your parents are getting up there. All of our parents are getting up there. And you know what else, though? When it comes to seniors in particular, like, I talk to my parents, I talk to my in-laws. They're on a constant gauntlet of going from specialist to specialist to specialist.
Preach.
And all these doctors do is refer people. You come in, I got a pain in my knee.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, well, most young people are probably going to walk it off or take some Tylenol, and that's the end of it. Maybe put a tensor bandage on it. No. With the seniors, okay, we're going to send you over here to get this test, and we're going to send you to a specialist over here for that, and then there's going to be some testing on this. It's crazy. They're just referring people around in circles to all these specialists.
That's been my life.
It's costing us a fortune to do this. And old people, they're like kids on Halloween. Keep giving me drugs. Give me a pill for that, pill for this.
Oh my gosh.
It's insane. They're carrying around rattlers, shaking around their pills in their pocket. Anna, it's messed up. They love the drugs and they think that anything the doctor gives them they should take, and they will just keep going. Oh, you think I need an MRI? Really? Because I got a pain in my finger. You think I need an MRI? Okay, let's go for an MRI. They're wasting time and money. It's messed up. We got to get a new system. And you know what? If we had a semi-private system, maybe that happens. But I don't think so, because they want to get people who need treatment in quickly. They're not screwing around sending you to 10 different specialists because your finger hurts. Get out of here.
No.
I mean, everybody's got to accept a little responsibility. But because it's free and old people have nothing to do anyway, they just keep doing it. Everybody, if you're a boomer or a millennial, you probably know because your parents are right around that age. They're just constantly traveling from doctor to doctor and taking up space for the rest of us.
And you know, because I tell you, I'm taking my mom to a specialist, my dad to a specialist, I'm taking my uncle to a specialist. Nobody speaks English, so I'm their translator. Let me tell you, I have met a lot of doctors over the last year and a half since I've been back.
It's insane how many appointments old people go to.
Gosh.
It's insane.
Yeah.
We got to stop it.
And then I think, okay, I think I'll be a good parent. If I can handle their schedule, I think I could do it.
How about this? No referral fees anymore.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Figure out a different way to compensate the doctors, but you don't get more money for sending someone to a different doctor. In fact, you should almost lose money if you do that. You're a goddamn doctor. Treat them. You went to med school. Stop sending them to someone else who went to med school. You treat them. And when you need a specialist, then you send someone to a specialist. But there should be no incentive. There should be no kickbacks, nothing like that. Because I assume that that's how it works. Doctors keep referring to each other because they're making money off of this. It's got to stop. Like, there's just way too many old people in a vicious cycle of nonstop prescription medication and going to specialist appointments. And there's people who need those specialist appointments, but old people have nothing to do. They're bored. They're not paying for it anyway. So, yeah, the doctor says I need an MRI. Yeah, sure, I'll go for an MRI. Got to go for blood work? Go for blood work. Got to go see an internal medicine specialist for a murmur in my heart? Okay. A lot of the times it doesn't need to be like that, but family doctors also don't like to act like doctors in the vast majority of cases. They're just referral machines. They just carry around the notepad, right? And they're either going to write you a prescription or write you a referral, and that's it. That's all they do.
Oh my gosh, it's so overwhelming.
It's very overwhelming, but I mean, I can see the fault in the system. Yes. I don't know why the government can't, or they don't have the will to fix it. So they're just going to keep paying more and more money and not getting better results.
We deserve the best results. We deserve it. Next one is from Ami, I believe, or Yumi. They write, as always, I love listening to you and Anna in the mornings on Light and on my drive home via your podcast.
I love that combo, by the way. You listen to the radio in the morning, podcast in the afternoon.
Yes, and I had a couple questions for you. What happened to the possibility of a spring election? I have theories, but I'd love your more in-depth take.
Okay. The reason we're not having a spring election because Mark Carney wanted a spring election. He wanted it so bad he could taste it. Everyone, I'm telling you, and I did tell you, I know, this one I was wrong about. I said we were going to be voting this spring, and we absolutely were going to be voting this spring. The problem is Donald Trump got involved in Iran. And once that hit the table, there was no way that we were going to have an election. We couldn't do it under the current circumstances. And by the way, the Liberals don't even know what the end fallout is going to be. For all we know, we may be paying $4 a liter for gas and people are going to be screaming at the top of their lungs. And that's not good for the government because when the economy is really, really bad, they usually don't vote for the incumbent. They'll vote for change. So the Liberals are still trying to calculate the lay of the land here. But make no mistake about it. Had the U.S. not gone in to take out the Iranian regime, we would be having an election probably in May.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
But it's still on the table, though, for fall. Every day is the best time for Mark Carney to have an election. Every day that goes by, he's missing an opportunity. Because as the bad news and the job losses and the lineups at food banks continue to extend, every day becomes a worse and worse prospect for him. He's got to get the election in before people turn. He's got a bit of runway, though. I mean, for the most part, even people who don't like him can at least tolerate him. It's not like Trudeau, who was toxic, right? I mean, even Trudeau supporters would roll their eyes when somebody mentioned Trudeau. But it took the country 9 years to get to that point with Trudeau before they realized, hey, we should have never done this in the first place. 9 years shows how stubborn the electorate in this country is. How long is it going to take with Carney? Well, I certainly don't think he's going to get 9 years, but I think even he can read the writing on the wall that if the economy's bad, people are going to vote for change. And he cannot turn this economy around on a dime. It's just not going to happen. All of his plans count on things happening over the next number of years. So if people don't start seeing results, they're going to want change. Carney needs to get this election in as quickly as possible because every day that goes by, he's less likely to win it.
Okay, so there's your in-depth. And then the next one is, this is a bit of a conspiracy theorish. She writes, but is it possible that the government isn't trying to prevent massive unemployment, or UBI would be more widely accepted? I feel like you may have touched on this before, but I can't remember. Thanks for all your hard work for delivering facts, information, and a different perspective.
Thank you. Was it Umi?
Umi.
Okay. UBI, for those who don't know, is Universal Basic Income. This has been something that the Liberals and left-leaning governments around the world really want to implement, but they haven't done it yet. Basically, what UBI means is this. Whether you work or not, the government is going to send you money every month. And if they say that the Universal Basic Income is, I'll use a round number, $24,000 a year, then you're going to get $2,000 a month. That'll be your income. And it doesn't matter if you look for a job, if you don't want to look for a job, you're just going to get that. And if you can live off of that, great. They say it's meant to be a livable income. The reason people are opposed to UBI is because it completely takes away the incentive to work. You know, I mean, under UBI, it's a handout. And we all know people in our lives that would totally take advantage of that will exploit the hell out of it, that will enjoy every second of laying on the couch and wasting money on dumb stuff. Some of them will even be working under the table, so they get their UBI, plus they've got another income. UBI, I like the premise of it. I think that everybody should have a basic income. But the people who are really struggling, or in traditional times that are really struggling, are the ones who are on disability, the ones who have got various issues that prevent them from working. We can help them out. We don't have to just put it on the table that whether you work or not, you're going to get $24,000 from the government. That'll be your basic. Also, what that'll do is, because they're going to have to tax the living hell out of people who do work, everybody will eventually be making roughly the same amount of money. If you want to work, great, but you can really only make 40. And if you don't want to do anything, you'll at least make 24. How can the government pay for it? They're just going to keep borrowing money. That's all they're going to do. And the taxes on people who do work will go through the roof. The people who work will develop a deep, deep disdain for those who don't work. There's pros and cons to it. If they're going to do it, I hope they do it right. And I hope they do it targeted and means-based. But I don't think they want to do that. They just want to do universal basic income. Everybody in the country is going to live off of $24,000 a year. And if you work to try and make more, it'll be taxed at like 70%.
Disgusting.
It's disgusting in that sense. Again, there are some good parts. There are people who are struggling because they just can't even get that 24.
For sure.
But that doesn't mean the rest of the taxpayers have to subsidize them necessarily. And if there's a specific group that needs help, I think we should be doing more for people on disability.
Yeah.
I don't know how they live on the money that we give them. And I think that we could do more. I think that there's people in a lot of scenarios that can't work, and we should do more to help them. That's what we do in Canada. We're a compassionate country. But there has to be a limit. Handing money to able-bodied people who just don't want to work, who just want to take the easy way and take that check every month, that's not okay. And I think the vast majority of people are going to reject UBI, Universal Basic Income, unless the economy gets so bad that seems like the better alternative. And that could be what they're gunning for. That was the conspiracy theory that Umi was suggesting there. I don't know if there's anything to it, but that's the story on UBI.
That'd be so sad. Also, the final question from Umi writes, P.S. How are Silent Date Guy and Silent Date Girl doing?
Oh, I actually have an update on that.
What?
Not a formal update where I'm going to sit down and play the songs and tell you about the dances and stuff.
My gosh.
There are a number of things that they've done recently, including a joint investment.
Really?
But what I haven't done, though, is I haven't actually asked them, can I do it? Like, we've joked about it. They were at my place, like, was it last weekend or the weekend before?
Gosh.
No, the weekend before I had a rock game. It was last weekend. They were at my place. And we were sitting around having drinks in the basement, and we all get along great.
Yeah.
Like, Silent Date Girl and Diana get along so well. And Silent Date Guy and I obviously are buddies. We're planning out golf season already. Everything's looking good. There is an update. I just haven't actually asked them, can I keep doing these updates on the radio? We've joked about the ones we have done, but we haven't talked about doing it going forward. So I'll get back to you with an answer on that, on whether or not I can do another Silent Date update.
But they're still going strong.
Still going strong.
Almost a year.
They're happy. He has sold his car and he's driving the truck she bought him.
Good for him.
I told him to do it. And if she wants to buy you a truck, dude, just let her buy you the truck.
Oh my gosh. What a story. Okay. Gives me hope. All right. Next up, we have Anonymous for your listener DMs. I'm driving from Waterloo to Florida. I'm passing through Louisville, where they have a flexible HOV lane Monday through Friday, 7 till 9. It made me think of your point about the NDP suggesting trucks use the 407 to ease traffic. Why does no one in our country talk about simple, practical solutions that could make a real difference with little effort? It feels like it's easier for people to complain about the status quo than actually to actually propose or implement change, but real solutions take effort and guts.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, you're right, but I disagree that we should be allowing trucks to use the 407 for free while all the cars sit on the non-tolled road.
Yeah.
Because what would happen there is all those trucks, we still have to pay for the 407, but if we tell the trucks, you've got to go up to the 407, you don't have to pay for it, it's okay. Somebody's still got to pay for that, and it's going to be us, the taxpayer. Imagine you sitting in traffic on the 401 trying to get home to see your kid's soccer game. Well, all the trucks are just flowing along on the 407 for free, and you're paying for that. Absolutely not. Buy back the 407. It's the only solution that makes sense. I would be willing to take on some of that Ontario debt to buy back the 407 because it would change people's lives in a great way. It would get them from A to B faster, and it would bridge the gap until the other highways they're building are done. And it doesn't need to be no toll. It could just be low toll. But what the 407 ETR company is doing is charging these extortionate rates, and people with expense accounts, people that don't have any other bills in life, they can all afford to use it. They can afford to pay $80 to travel 100 kilometers. It's crazy how much they're charging. It's nuts. They can afford that. But for families where every dollar counts, and we're in the middle of a number of different crises here, they can't afford that. And it's crazy to tell them, hey, either pay $80 or you're going to miss your kid's hockey game tonight. That's bull. Open up the 407, make it free, buy it back, take it back from the current owners, and never, ever, ever sell our infrastructure again.
Hear, hear. I agree with that. Matt writes, hey, Scott, just checking in. I drove to Florida over March break to stay with my snowbird parents and ended up talking politics with my dad. I was surprised to hear him say he's glad Pierre didn't get in and that he's happy with Mark Carney and what he's doing on trade deals outside the U.S. He used to support Trump, so I didn't expect that. And honestly, it was a bit disappointing since we've usually been aligned more on the conservative side. A lot of his points sounded straight from mainstream media. Yep. I'm going to try to get him to listen to the Joe Rogan podcast with Pierre. I'm hoping that interview helps rally more support. And how refreshing was it to hear a politician speak without saying 1,000 times? It's true. Also, your podcast kept me awake on the overnight drive. I had a week's worth to catch up on.
Love that.
Yeah,
Thank you for listening on the road trip. Matt, you said?
Matt.
Okay. So we're living in a different reality right now. Older people have very, very, very different concerns than younger people have. And older people are very slow to realize what's changed in this country. They look around and they don't see it. But part of the reason they don't see it is because they don't have the same financial pressures. In a lot of cases, they've got no or low mortgage. They don't have to face the same challenges that we do. And it comes down to money. If you've got money, you might think everything in Canada is just going great. But for those in the middle class that are really struggling to put food on the table and put their kid in soccer this summer and pay the bills and keep the cell phones going, and you don't really have the money to pay for it, but the kids really want Disney Plus, so we'll figure out a way to get that extra $30 a month. You're like, they're really scrimping and saving, and full credit to the middle class who's making it work, but just barely are they hanging on. Just barely. One serious event and they're screwed. Old people don't have those pressures. And by the way, the old people are the ones that mainly watch the news. And there's no way to deny it. Any reasonable, objective person can tell. When you watch the news, you're not getting the whole story. You're getting their version of the story. They're narrating a narrative. And the narrative is Mark Carney is doing great. He is going to deal with middle power countries and he's signing trade deals. And in reality, I'm sure most older people don't even know. He hasn't signed a single trade deal. Not one. These MOUs are completely meaningless. He's biding time. The best thing Canada could do is work out the situation with the Americans and really get cooking on getting our resources out there. Everything Pierre proposed on the Joe Rogan podcast is worth discussing. And we can agree or disagree on certain parts of his plan, but at least it's reasonable and at least it's a plan. Mark Carney has never laid out a plan. Never. He has never put out a plan. He said, I've got a plan, and people just believed, oh, well, I guess he's got a plan. You know, he came to us with a resume, and that was it. And people thought, oh, well, he's not Trudeau, so he's got to be great. We like the Liberals, we just don't like Trudeau. Totally forgetting that the people behind Trudeau, that cabinet that enabled Trudeau for all those years, are still in cabinet. Now they're working for Mark Carney. Nothing really changed except the face. The issues are the same. The issues have not gotten any better. But people think we made a change and we're turning the corner. And as long as they're angry at Donald Trump, they will keep trying to see the good in what Mark Carney is doing. In reality, if you're being objective, nothing is getting better. Nothing has been fixed. We're not making any progress. Mark Carney has had the authority since June to approve a pipeline. June. He himself can do it alone. The Conservatives helped give him the power that he can approve any project himself. He hasn't approved any. Where's the pipeline? We're not talking about getting shovels in the ground. We haven't even approved it yet. We're years and years and years away from this, when we all agree we need that pipeline to get our resources out to market. That road to the Ring of Fire that Doug Ford goes on and on about. It'll be years before it's done, even longer before we're bringing them down to Southern Ontario to ship them out around the world. We have no imminent solutions here. Everything Pierre is proposing is aimed at the middle class. First thing he's going to do is cut taxes. People have to keep more of their money. And he's going to cap government spending because we can't keep printing money. Those are things that would make a difference tomorrow. But older folks don't understand that we have an imminent problem right now. They don't understand that everything they see on the news isn't necessarily true. All these deals that Mark Carney's doing aren't actual deals. And even if they were deals, they're not big enough to make a difference anyway. We've got a massive, massive deficit. We're spending more in interest on our federal debt than we spend on health care. Think about that. More in interest on our debt than we spend on health care. That's under Carney and the Liberals. And people want to give him another go? Yeah, give him 4 more years. I mean, what's it going to take for you to say, this didn't really work out. We should try something different. It's older people. That's the difference. And by the way, I don't mean all older people. I understand that older people came from a different generation when you could trust the news and when we were supposed to be patriotic to our country. So they're being ultra patriotic. They believe the news when the news says Donald Trump is coming to invade us. He's not coming to invade us. He's not annexing our country. He's negotiating. And Mark Carney doesn't want to play the game because Mark Carney has interests outside of Canada. Mark Carney has business interests that have nothing to do with the government of Canada other than the government of Canada is going to buy it or pay for it. People got to start seeing that. And until they do, nothing is going to get better, Anna. I hate to say it, but nothing is going to get better until the older folks start caring about their grandkids and their children. That's the only way something is going to change.
Well, facts are facts, right?
Those are facts.
Mm-hmm. We have Anonymous with a suggestion. They say, I think Tracy Wilson from the Canadian Coalition for Firearm Rights would be a great guest for your show, especially with the March 30th deadline to register firearms for compensation coming up. Just a suggestion.
Tracy's great. I like her a lot. I follow her on X, and she does really good work. The Canadian Coalition of Firearms Owners. Hey, this liberal gun buyback, they admit it's a failure. Well, they won't actually say it's a failure, but they can acknowledge. What did they get? Like 53,000 guns, and they budgeted for like 4 times that amount?
Yeah, it's really embarrassing.
Police forces all across the country saying we're not even going to participate. You've got provinces saying it's stupid. All they really did was manage to piss away tens of millions of dollars. They just wasted it. And it was a stupid program to begin with. They were taking away hunting rifles from duck hunters and target shooters and did nothing to stop the gangbangers on the streets with handguns and semi-automatics that are shooting up neighborhoods and synagogues. It's insane. And they knew it. They had a choice. We can get tough on crime. We can get tough on the illegal guns. We can shore up the border and, put scanners at every entryway into the country to make sure that nobody's smuggling guns in. They didn't want to do that. They could have done it. They didn't want to. Instead, they wanted to disarm the public. I'm happy to say, though, I have never seen so many regular run-of-the-mill average Canadians interested in getting their firearms license. Even you, Anna, said, I'm interested in doing it. I meet people on my street that are like taking the firearms course in a couple of weeks. And I'm thinking, good for you. Everybody should. You don't even need to buy a gun, but you should have the license and you should have the training. I think it's essential. I have my boater's license and I don't own a boat.
It's true, though.
Seriously. Get your firearms license, everybody. And then if you want to have a gun, nobody is going to save you. Put it that way. Middle of the night, somebody wants to kick in your door. It's going to be a while before the cops get there, and the government has done nothing to make our streets safer. You got to protect yourself. And if Doug Ford means what he says, that he really wants castle law in this country and he's going to fight for it, I know Danielle Smith in Alberta is definitely fighting for castle law. Well, let's have at it then. If somebody comes into your home, you should have the right to take them out. And that's not going to happen with a baseball bat. Sorry, you might feel a little more secure, but it's not going to happen, especially when they've got a gun.
Yeah, you're not going to bring that to a fight.
Get your firearms license, everyone, and they'll talk to you during the course about when you can and can't use it, what is and isn't appropriate. I don't even know if they cover appropriate force, but at some point, we're going to have a conversation about that, too. That'll happen around the castle laws. But get your license. It takes a weekend. You'll learn a lot, and then you have the right to go into Sale or Bass Pro or Canadian Tire. I don't think Canadian Tire sells actual firearms anymore. I think they're all like pellet guns and paintball guns. But either way, you can go and buy a firearm that works for you, that fits you, that is easy to store and clean and maintain. It's just a good thing to have. How about that?
It's true. And I've never felt so unsafe like I do now, even in my own home. It's just wild.
It's bad, right?
It's so bad. I constantly see the footage of these people with guns breaking in, home invasions, all of it. And 10 years ago, I would have never said I would have gone for my gun license. And have a completely different perspective now.
These thieves are so brazen. Like these are the ones that'll walk into the mall with ski masks on and hammers, and you all know where they're going. Well, they must be going to the jewelry store. Yeah.
Honestly.
Everybody knows, right? When they go to houses, they'll just kick the door in.
No.
There was one that was circulating this week. Middle of the day.
I know.
Handgun and a shotgun. They're shooting at a house and they're filming themselves doing it like they're making some sort of a rap video.
It was wild.
That's happening on our streets. Like I said, nobody's going to protect you. Nobody is going to protect you.
Scary.
You got to protect yourself and your family.
All right. Well, Amanda writes, hey, Scott, I keep seeing clips of committee hearings on social media. I don't fully understand what they are. I see option members questioning ministers with limited time. Can you explain what these hearings are meant to accomplish and why they matter? It often feels like questions don't get answered, just a lot of word salad. I saw the recent one you mentioned with, is it Michelle? Michelle Rempel?
Yes.
Okay, Michelle Rempel, and would love more context. So also, do you engage with people on social media about politics? Since I've gone into more of it, my feeds are full of political groups and it's driving me a bit crazy. I feel like I want to challenge people, but I've had to mute it all because it just makes me want to rage.
Yeah, I understand that. I really don't engage much with people on social media. This is my digital persona. I do it in a podcast every day. You know what? Sometimes you're just looking for a fight if you go on social, and there's a lot of people on the left that are just looking for a fight. It's not worth it. I have blocked so many people lately, Anna, just because the number one reason, and probably the only reason that I'll block someone, is if you come at me with hate. If you call me a name, if you say, way to go, ass, whatever it is, if you use profanity, if you call me something derogatory, you're getting blocked, and that's just the end of it, because that is not how you talk to someone, and I doubt you would say that to my face. And there's way too many of those keyboard warriors out there on social media. Some platforms are worse than others, but that pylon mentality, that aggressiveness that comes from the left, I'm not interested in it. If there was a platform like a Truth Social in Canada, maybe that would be more interesting. I don't know. But either way, I have no interest in that. I'll share my opinion from time to time. I'll comment, but I'm not going to have a debate on social media. When it comes to committee hearings, this is where the work is supposed to get done. The government proposes a law. Then it has to go to committee for study. And the committee is made up of all parties, and they're supposed to consult, and they're supposed to make the best decisions possible to make that bill better before it becomes a law. And they can propose, like I said, amendments and things like that. And it used to be that was very, very effective until they put the cameras in and everybody started playing for the social media moment. Now you've got a government that won't answer because they don't want video out there of them admitting, we have no idea how many Iranian terrorists are in this country. They don't want that out there, so they won't answer. If there was no cameras, it could go back to being productive, but with no cameras, it's not as transparent. So everything is performative. It's all theater. Parties aren't working together anymore because, like I said earlier, it's all about the power. They want power. And they think once they've won an election, they've got unlimited power to do whatever they want until they need our vote again. It's wrong, but that's the way the system is. Committee can still be good. You can still learn things in committee that you're not going to hear during question period, but it's become really skeezy, really dirty, to be honest.
Well, this one is from Anonymous with a quick question. I've heard journalists are generally able to keep their sources confidential and don't have to disclose them unless required by a court. Is that actually true? And if so, would you fall under the same category as a podcaster? I know you're great at protecting your sources, but I'm curious whether there are any laws that prevent you from disclosing them if asked. Signed, Curious.
Typically, when a journalist protects their source, that's the journalist sticking to the journalistic code of integrity. And journalists, some of them, still have some scruples. And they believe in that if somebody is going to be a confidential source for you, you will keep them confidential. The court could try to compel you to give up your source, but the true journalists won't even do that if the court says so. They'd rather go to jail than give up their source. Mm-hmm. Nobody has ever asked me about my sources, and nor would I disclose that information anyway. I'm not going to share that info. If somebody trusts me with information that I've taken the time to vet and verify, then I'm going to keep that source private. Any good journalist would. That's just the way it works.
All right. And finally, this is from another anonymous person. I've been meaning to ask you this for a while, and this week's DM episode touched on it. You release a 40 to 50 minute episode every day. How many hours a week do you actually spend on the pod? I imagine there are multiple takes, extra editing, and a lot of research for each topic. So for roughly 4 to 5 hours of content, how many total hours of work go into each week?
I'm basically a one-take guy. I do it all basically in one take. If I sit down and record a 45-minute podcast, I can usually have that turned around in about an hour and 15 minutes.
It's true. I can say that. It's true.
I don't like to stop, start, record, do multiple takes, usually. The video stuff is taking up a lot more of my time than I wanted it to, but I kind of knew that was going to go with it when I introduced some videos. So it is what it is. I'm going to say average. It takes me about 90 minutes a day, but I'm happy to do it because I think this is work that needs to be done. I think the public needs to know what's going on in the country, and they need to get it from someone who has a little bit of credibility, which I think for the most part, I do. I work hard every day to earn that credibility, and I try to be as balanced as possible. I've got a bias. There's nothing I can do about my bias. Yes, I tend to lean right, but I'm focused on the middle class, and there's no party that's super serving the middle class right now, so I have to. And when the mainstream media is completely ignoring the middle class and the plight that they're going through, because they just believe in that agenda of keeping this government in power because this government is subsidizing the hell out of them and keeping them employed, I got to call that out. That's why independent media is so important. Podcasts like mine, Blacklocks Reports, Holly and the team over there do an amazing job. That's independent media that gets no government funding. Rebel News, I mean, they come at it with a further right lens than I do, but they're independent media that gets no government funding. The ones who aren't taking from the government are the ones you should probably give a little bit of attention to. Sort through the bias, sort through the BS, but they have no reason to prop up a government. They have no reason to do it. They're not getting money from them. So you should probably at least include them in your watching, listening, and news consumption, including this podcast, because I do it every day. And I think without it, it wouldn't be as... I think every day, more and more people that discover this pod realize that they're getting a lot more objective information, not necessarily completely, but more objective information from me than they get by watching an entire week worth of the national news. You know what I mean? Well, because it's usually just a snippet where now you get at least a lot more content and not a short amount of time, but a decent amount of time. Absolutely. Anna, thank you for your time. You're so talented. So I just want people to know that he is a one-man show and gets this done every day. Thank you. Have a great weekend. You too. Thanks. Friends, I'll see you on Monday for another episode of Scott Fox After 9. This weekend, there is a bonus episode coming out. A very good friend of mine has written a new book. That is going to be a video interview. You can see that on my YouTube channel, or you can get it right here. Oh,